The year 2010, but in our decade, I started learning that Disney bought out Lucasfilms, LucasArts, ILM, which is basically anything that George Lucas owns, they bought. They also bought Marvel. They've bought a lot of things, which really shows that they are trying to create an enterprise and a monopoly of things, because they own a chunk of everything. So any Illuminati conspiracists, you know who to turn to. Anyways, I bring this up because ultimately, when Disney bought Star Wars and anything else Lucas related, which yes, he's known for Star Wars, but he made a few other video games. I think it's called Monkey Island. I could easily be wrong. I don't remember what it is, but yeah. Like I said, as oddball as I am, I will put a link to something at least that will talk about all these other things if I find them, when I find them. Or I might just make a new video saying link in the description. That way it's easier. I might do that. That's a good idea. So anyways, Disney bought Lucas. And when they did that, they took however many years, I think it was like 2 years to figure out. So in 2012, they decided, okay, you can run with your Clone Wars current TV show, which I would love if someone were to give me a link or in the comments, or tell me or direct me when Disney was bought Star Wars and when the Star Wars Clone Wars CG, as I call it, the CG cartoon. There was a drawn one that looked hand-drawn, which ended up as 2 movies, as Volume 1 and 2, which bridged the gap directly between Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and Episode 3. Then there was the cartoon that had Ahsoka. I don't know if George had the rights to Star Wars still. I just know that it says created by George Lucas in all the credits. Then when Rebels came out, which is the sequel series to that show, it doesn't say that. It says based on the characters and concept by George Lucas. So he didn't actually create it. He had nothing to do with that. They're basically acknowledging George made Star Wars. You know, that's like saying Clive Barker made Hellraiser. And when Clive left the series, Hellraiser and everything, they basically threw on it, which I think was after the second one. It basically just said based on the characters made by Clive Barker. So if you ever see that saying based on, it means it is not created by that person or not done. It's based on, it's reference. That's all it is. So when Disney bought the Star Wars franchise, there was everyone in the Star Wars community is well aware of what is called the EU, the Star Wars Expanded Universe, or which consists of pretty much, quite literally, every video game ever created for like every console. So if it had Star Wars up until Disney bought the rights, it was a part of the EU. If it had a story tied to the series, So if it had a story at all and it was labeled Star Wars, it was a part of the EU. I know there's certain ones that are not, that are Star Wars, like Splinter of the Mind was what they call the lost sequel, or the unofficial sequel to the original Star Wars. Story goes, when George Lucas was making A New Hope, he didn't know how big it was, so he wanted a sequel story to be made, and this was, of course, before he came up with, he basically had, I don't know how exactly this went, I just know that they exist, There's Splinter of the Mind, which was basically supposed to be the original sequel to Star Wars, or like a subplot or whatever. And at that point, we don't know It was not revealed that Luke and Leia were sisters at all, so other things happened or whatever. And basically, yeah, it was basically, it came out, I think, shortly after the theatrical release of A New Hope. I could easily be wrong. I don't know these things. I know they exist. I don't know when they came out and stuff like that. Then he basically found the success, was able to make the money to create the next movie, and he's like, okay, what do I really want in my movie? I think that's how it went. So I don't know for sure. I just know that that's not one of the official canon things, I think. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me, because I want to know what is canon according to the Legends/EU. I hate that it's considered Legends. I love when I find a book that is not under the Legends banner, because it's the original thing. But at the same time, that way I know what continuity it is. I rather buy it with basically both non and actual banner of Legends. So, when Disney bought the rights to everything George Lucas, so that he could essentially retire, I guess, I don't know. I don't know how that went down. I should probably look into that instead of just all the fan stuff, fan videos. I should look into the actual, like, how that happened. That'd be a good idea, right? So, when that happened, for the billionth time, basically, they're like, okay, we have all this expanded universe. We have all this stuff, but we have no way to make a movie. I don't know why they wanted to make a movie. They could have just bought the rights for whatever reason. I don't think that it was a good idea, because other than to basically have a stopping point, there's a reason for everything, as I like to say, the gods, the cosmos, the universe, everything gets aligned for a reason. So when that happened, they basically said, once they went through everything, because he basically signed his document, he got his money, because he sold it, so, he got paid for it. And once that happened, they had to go through and figure out who owned the shared rights. So, like, there's the copyrights, and publishing rights and everything. So, like, there was Dark Horse, there's Marvel. All these different people were publishing comic books and publishing books that were part of the EU. They had to actually, archive and fucking document every single thing and say, okay, now that we have everything written down and documented and figured out, now, and we know what the chronological order is, that way we know how to reference it and who to reference and everything like that. Now we're going to start fresh, and we are going to basically get rid of everything. None of it is continuity, none of it is canon. We're going to create our own. Big mistake, big problem. And that is why Force Awakens is the way it is because all they wanted, Disney is a money bag. All they want is to make money. They are a corporate enterprise entity. I forget what the terminology definition is of a corporate enterprise versus just a corporation. But they just want things that will make them money. They have theme parks, they have cartoons, they have TV channels, they have shows, they have ways to make money. This is what my complaint is. Disney, you did not need to make this movie. I'm a hardcore Star Wars fan, okay? You did not need to make this. You went the complete wrong way. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have made a new movie. I'm saying that you should have had a new department developed for Disney, the sub-department for Star Wars. Whoever is the liaisons or whoever, oversees that. You should have made a department under your Star Wars guys for researching the timeline. Say, okay, we want to make a episode 7, something that takes place after Return of the Jedi. Which, again, like I've already stated, the video I was watching, which kind of got me on this rant, was someone who, I saw a similar video that talked pretty much about this exact stuff. He even used the same footage, saying that Force Awakens is a copy, you have a desert planet, you have this guy who, character who doesn't know the Force and finds out he's so gifted in the Force for whatever reason. A droid gets lost with secret plans of the enemy or big bad guy. It's like everyone, there's a lot of people who have stated it is a exact replica of the original trilogy compressed, and all the best parts. They don't want